name is Shantae, and this is the Bring a Folding Chair series. BAFC is a talk series where guests come together to discuss diverse topics and the importance of bringing all seats to the table. Today's topic is 5 ways to overcome imposter syndrome, and our special guest is Charmaine Walker, pronoun she, her. So Charmaine Walker is a mental health professional with a master's in clinical mental health counseling, certified clinical hypnotherapist, certified coach, certified yoga instructor, and a mindfulness trainer. She has been helping women reduce stress, increase confidence, self-worth, and productivity since 2015. So Charmaine, I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Hope you brought your folding chair.
I sure did. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay, so let's start with my first question. So what is your why? Why did you start your organization, Centerview LLC, and get into this field?
Okay, well, I did start Centerview. Initially started as bringing yoga, meditation, and mindfulness to more women, and in particular, Black women. Because of all the stress that we're experiencing, I believe that it's a great way to reduce stress that's relatively inexpensive and just about anybody can do it, and you can do it just about anywhere. But it doesn't feel accessible to BIPOC women. So initially my intent was to make it accessible to BIPOC women. And then as I was doing more research, learning more, getting more into counseling, getting more into how our subconscious works with the hypnotherapy. So now I started to expand it. Because what I realized, what realized for me and even with my clients is that it all starts in your mind. Right? We have all of this junk up in there that we don't even realize that's preventing us from being as great as we can be, that's preventing us, especially as women, from feeling empowered, right? To be our greatness whenever and however we want to be. You know, one of the things I remember hearing throughout my studies was that we have just not been taught how great we really are or how great we really can be. We have been taught, especially as women, to make ourselves small, right? To think small, to limit ourselves, and really, you know, be more submissive to someone else, right? Usually a male figure, which does not really serve us. And this is what kind of causes some of our stress, you know, in our lives. So when I started Centerview, it was definitely to reduce stress. Now it is also to reduce stress, but also to get us to learn how to master our subconscious. That would also help us to reduce stress, but also help us to live the lives that we so deserve to live and that we desire to live. And we should live, right? We deserve this as women and anybody. I mean, it could really work for anybody. I'm just really focusing on women or, you know, maybe for the obvious reasons, right? I'm a woman, right? You know, I understand the issues that women go through a little bit more personally, right? So that's why I'm focusing on women more so with the Centerview LLC.
Wow. So you just want women to think big and feel big and take up space in a way.
Yes, I want them to know that they're big. You know, not just to think it, because we've been told that, right? And it obviously doesn't work, right? It works. Let me not say that, but it doesn't work as effectively as you think, right? We can't just think our way to a positive situation, right? We have to know who we are. We have to know that we're great. We have to know that we are capable, right, of doing whatever it is we want to do. And also, you know, women for the most part, you know, they're kind of like the backbone of the society, right? They're the backbone of the family, right? So once a woman starts to feel empowered, she'll be able to pass that on to her immediate family, her children, her husband, and then go outside to her sisters, her friends, you know, and then that now goes on over to the community, and then goes on over to society, goes on to the country, you know. So once we're able to empower women, right, we're able to empower, it's not just that one woman. She takes the entire community, the entire country with her. So that's why it's very important for us to empower women, very important for us as women to realize the power that we have. And it's all there. We have it all within us, each and every one of us. We just have to learn how to access it.
Yeah, it's so true. There's so many like scientific and social studies about how even, let's say, educating women, educating girls can change the whole community just by having them go to school and learn changes the whole center of their community and the whole purpose of their community because women are the backbone of society. So,
Exactly, exactly.
so what's some of the things that you do for your clients? How are you helping to empower them?
So what I mainly do, I mainly work with high achieving women to overcome imposter syndrome and anxiety, right? So that they can either grow their careers or grow their businesses without feeling like a fraud, without feeling like a failure, but to do it with confidence and to do it without years of therapy. So I teach my clients, or I introduce my clients into different ways of thinking, right? So that it will benefit what they want, how they want to live. And I mainly use hypnotherapy because that way I'm able to get straight down to the subconscious, where everything that we do is based, well, not everything, let me say 90, 95% of what we do is based on our subconscious, just automatic workings and thinkings that we have. So when we really want to make a change, if we can make it on the subconscious level, we're able to make a more lasting change. So I help my clients get down to that subconscious level,
Mhm.
root out whatever is not working, put in what we believe is going to be work for her to get to where she wants to be, and then reinforce that through other exercises so that it stays and sticks with her.
Okay, repetition, put it so
Yep.
just outside of you working with them, it's something that they will continue on past your time with them.
Yes, because once I can show you kind of what to do, right? And you'll be able to do most of it on your own eventually once you kind of learn it and see how it
Mhm.
works. I mean, there are still times, I mean, I still see a hypnotherapist and I'm a certified hypnotherapist. So
Ah,
there will be occasions where you probably still want to go back to a professional, but you can learn how to reprogram your subconscious on your own.
okay. Just clarifying, so a hypnotherapy, are you put to sleep or, put a clock in front of you and have you stare as the clock swings back and forth? What's the practice of that?
No, so a hypnotherapist will use hypnosis, which is a trance-like state. So it might feel like you're asleep, but you're really alert of everything that's going on. There's no clock or anything, but there is deep relaxation. So what we do first is relax the body, then we relax the conscious mind so that we can get down to the subconscious mind.
Okay.
There's nothing as a hypnotherapist I can implant in you that you do not agree with. If you
Okay.
never wanted to bark like a dog, I cannot make you bark like a dog, and plus it'll be unethical for me to try to implant any thoughts into you. Your mind is so much stronger than anything that I can say or suggest to you. And as your hypnotherapist, I work with you to determine what you want out of the experience, what you're trying to get rid of or overcome. So it's not a generalized kind of experience. We might have a generalized experience, such as we might have anxiety. But what
Mhm.
causes anxiety for me and what causes anxiety for you are completely different things. So what I do with my clients is I get to what causes the anxiety for you, right? And then we'll learn what we need to learn from it so that we can get past it and move on to what it is that you want, what you really want.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay, I understand now.
Yeah.
So, kind of backing into our main topic, what is imposter syndrome?
Yes. So imposter syndrome it really affects about 70% of people at one point or in their lives. So it is when you feel that no matter what you've accomplished, that you are going to get found out. Like they're going to find out you don't know what you're talking about. They're going
Mm.
to find out that you should not be the boss. They're going to find out that you should not be the author. So it's this fear of always feeling like someone's going to find out that I do not belong here, that I'm not worthy of being here. And that's regardless of all the accomplishments that you can have. So the first study was done in, I believe, 78 by two psychologists, Clance and Imes. And but they worked with women who were in higher education, PhD students as well as faculty members. And what they found is that there was always this feeling of not of being found out, fear of failure, for perfectionism, or even procrastination, which is another sign, double sides of the same coin kind of thing. And it didn't matter how much they accomplished. Right. So these were highly accomplished women, yet they still felt like a fraud. They felt like they made a mistake by allowing them into the PhD program, or they made a mistake or some kind of fluke. So it's
Mhm.
never it's never because of you why you're achieving anything. It's some fluke, it's something outside of you. Yet when you fail at something, it's all because of you. It's never
Mhm.
something outside of you. And that's usually the difference with imposter syndrome. So it's really that no matter what you've accomplished, you feel like a fraud. You
Wow.
feel like they're going, and you live in fear of them finding out that you're a fraud.
Mhm. I had not heard of like the term imposter syndrome until like a couple of years ago. Somebody at my school had done a TEDx talk about imposter syndrome. And that was the first time I ever heard of that phrase. And I was like, huh, seems very like relatable. I feel like there's tons of people either I know or even just me at sometimes are like,
Mm-hmm.
huh, maybe I am the imposter in the room.
Mm-hmm. 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 And it could be it's a debilitating kind of experience. Now, it's not a diagnosis,
Mhm.
right? And it's not necessarily related to depression or anxiety, right? It's a phenomenon, right?
Okay.
That they call it. And it can be debilitating in the sense that, so you won't go after, you will not apply for that PhD program, even though you might have done well undergrad and done well in a master's program, because you're afraid they're going to find out. You won't apply for that promotion because you're afraid that you're going to find out that you can't really do the job. So it really holds you back. I know with me personally, it held me back from shining in jobs that I could have really shined in, right?
Mhm.
And I should have been shining it, but because I was afraid, oh, they might find out, and I didn't even realize this until I started doing some research. So these things could be going on, you don't even realize this is what's going on with you, right? I didn't realize it till I did my own research, like what is holding me back, right? And then I discovered it was this, so what imposter syndrome usually goes back to is that there's a deep rooted feeling that you're not enough.
Okay.
So what makes me feel like I wasn't enough will be different than what makes someone else feel like they weren't enough. But really it all boils down to that. Something happened at some point and I know what it is in my life, but something happened at some point in your early life, usually in your early life, that made you pause and say, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe
Mhm.
I'm not going to be good at this. And it could happen to the person who got all A's and then they got that one B or that one C in a class, and then all of a sudden the parents are like, "What? So what about this C?" You know, you
Yeah.
know, or it could be the person who never gets an A, so they're like, "What's the point of trying?" They could be the smartest person out there, but
Mhm.
for whatever reason, they're never getting an A. So what's the point of trying? They're going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing anyway. And that kind of travels with you throughout life unless you do something to change it, unless you get down to the root cause of what's
Mhm.
making you feel like you're not enough.
Oh, wow. Do you think imposter syndrome is more common and found in just like academia and like schools and things, or can it be people have imposter syndrome in like tons of other ways of their life? Um,
Um, Initially, the studies have all been about academia, right? But it does carry out also into the corporate world. Same thing. You just don't feel like you're enough. You feel like you're going to get found out. So you work extra hard. You're the first person there, last person to leave, right? Not be necessary because there's so much work or anything, but because you don't want them to find out that you think that you don't know what you're doing you know so you're going to make sure you overproduce.
mhm.
So it can happen in corporate America as well. It happens amongst marginalized people, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that's been told to us as society, that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
so you take that with you everywhere. Oh, you got to study twice as much so you could get, the job or the grade, or, you just got to be twice as good.
Mhm.
Everybody expects you to fail. So all this extra pressure that's on you. So all of that is telling you you don't belong wherever it is you're trying to go, whatever you're trying to achieve. So you already
Yeah.
feel like you don't belong. And then, oh, I'm not as smart as everybody else, or I have to try twice as hard as everybody
Mhm.
else to get it. And those kind of things can build up. And these kinds of things also build stress, in us that we just
Mhm.
think is just normal. But it's
Oh
not.
yeah.
It's not normal. We don't need to live that way. And we're not supposed to live that way. We're not made really physically to live in that kind of constant stress all the time. And this is why now you have higher diseases, right?
Yeah.
Especially amongst BIPOC people, right? You have higher, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, all of these things is because there's added stress
Mhm.
that
It weighs
perpetuates.
down on you.
Yes, exactly. And we don't even know. We've lived it so long that you don't even realize that this is just life, right? This is how life is. Yeah,
Mhm.
it might be how life is, but it's not how life has to be.
Very true. Very true. Okay, so what can people do to, overcome imposter syndrome? What are these 5 ways to overcome?
So the 5 ways that I usually tell my clients to overcome imposter syndrome is positive self-talk. So how you talk about yourself, meditation, mindfulness, visualization, and hypnotherapy. So positive self-talk, how you speak to yourself matters. Right?
Mhm.
You have to become aware of what you're saying and how you're saying it to yourself. And it also means the feeling it. So whatever you're saying, you have to feel. You have to internalize it.
Mhm.
So that's why when you're doing affirmations are great, but they might take a while because you kind of have to get through your conscious mind, get down to the subconscious to actually start believing, oh, I am enough. But if you deep down inside you don't believe that you're enough, it's going to take you a while of repeating that to yourself.
Yeah.
And not only do you need to repeat it to yourself, right? And what they say about 21, 30 days, you need to
Yeah.
repeat it, but you need to repeat it like you mean it. Like one of my favorite affirmations I do is just that I love you, Charmaine. Right. And I'm like, I love you, Charmaine. I love you, Charmaine. I love you, Charmaine. Like, and I'll say it several different ways, you know, so that it gets down into my subconscious that yeah, I love myself. So what happens now when there is a failure? I'm no longer beating myself up
Mhm.
about this failure. It now changes to, okay, what can I learn from this? So, okay, this happened. What can I learn from this? Instead of like, gosh, yet going down that rabbit hole. Oh, yeah, see, you can never do it. I told you you couldn't
Mhm.
do it. They told you you couldn't. I don't know who you thought you was to try to do it. Every time you try to, you just keep going, 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 going. Right.
Yeah.
So, speaking to yourself, being your own cheerleader is a big
Mhm.
thing too, right? Like say it like you're your hype man. Like you got this, Charmaine. You've always got the you do this all the time, Charmaine. You know what you're doing. They love you. Go out there. Whatever it is you have to do, right? To hype yourself up. Like, think you're a performer on stage or something. You always have the hype man come up out
Yeah.
before, right? Do that. Or you're doing an interview and you're interviewing you're introducing the person. You talk about all their great stuff. Do that stuff for yourself, right? So that your first reaction will eventually be, yeah, I'm that good. I know what I'm doing. Even if I mess up, this gonna be good. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna learn something from this. All right. So positive self-talk, one of them, right? So
Mhm.
second thing is meditation. So meditation is a way for us to um, still our mind, not empty it. You're not going to get rid of all the thoughts or
Yeah.
anything like that. Right? We have way too many of them. Right? But it's still a way of first stilling your body. And once you still your body, you're able to slow down your thoughts so that you can start to recognize which ones serve you and which ones do not.
Mhm.
Right? And if you practice meditation, there's all kinds of meditations out there. So there's something for everybody. It can last a minute, it can last an hour, whatever works for you. Or you can work your way up to an hour, whatever works for you. But just the practice of sitting still and quieting your mind for even a minute. Like I tell people in the beginning, 1 minute of watching your breathing 3 times a day, not just when stuff is going crazy, right? But just, just 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. And you just put your awareness on your breath. Because this you can do anywhere.
Yeah.
No one needs to know that this is what you're doing, right? But what you're doing, what you'll eventually learn how to do is to train your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. So it might be to focus on completing that task at work. It might be to focus on being with your friends, whatever it is. But you'll be able to learn that, oh, my thoughts are going like this all over the place. I need to come back to right here. This is what's important right now, right here, right now. This is what's important. It's important for me to speak to you, Shantae. It's important for me to, speak to my friends or my husband, whatever it is. But that's what's important in that moment. And once you start to recognize your mind wandering, you're able to bring it back to the present moment. So the third thing would be
these are cool, like first two are great. What's the third one?
Great. So the third one is mindfulness. And that kind of goes in with meditation a little bit, right? So mindfulness is paying attention in the present moment, right? So that you, without judgment, right? So that you can make decisions, so that you're able to have a choice of what your reaction is going to be, what your response is going to be. So you're not reacting, So you're no longer reacting to life, you're responding. You're choosing a response that's within your values, that takes you to where you want to go. Right? But you can only do that in the present moment. Simple, it sounds simple, not really, right? Simple doesn't always mean easy. Right?
All of these sound very simple, but it takes some practice.
And it takes practice, and you have to be patient with yourself, right? So that it's going to take practice. You didn't start thinking this way overnight, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time. And some of these deep-rooted thought patterns that we have are rooted into our childhood, right? So if you're an adult, that's 20 years that you've been thinking, a certain way. That's not going to change in 20 minutes. So especially when you're doing these kinds of practices, the meditation, the mindfulness. So with mindfulness, you're trying to, you don't want to rehash the past, and you're trying not to rehearse the future. You want to stay right here, right now. So some of the things that you could do is just, use your phone or a phone ringing or the doorbell as a trigger to say, okay, now let me take a few deep breaths. Or it could be, okay, let me look around the room and see, 5 things that I can name, because this is right here, right now. Right? You could also do object observation, where you just choose an object, it might be a pen or something, and you look at it and observe it as if it's the first time you've ever experienced it. So without any past judgments of what it should be like, or any future, I'm going to write a book with this, any future thoughts about it, just right now, like it's the first time you've ever seen that. And you could do that with any object. You could do that. You could do mindfulness walking. Wow. And feeling the connection of your foot to the ground, connection of your foot to the shoe, to the ground, and how it rolls up, how your foot moves as you're walking. One side might have a little bit more pressure than the other. There might be a sensation or a pain or ease, whatever it is. It's just being in that present moment. And you could do that while you're out there walking. You could do listening to music, right? And you're listening to, if you could listen to the instruments, if you could determine the different instruments, you listen to the high and lows of it, and the rhythm of the music, as you're listening to it. And all this can be done in a minute, as I said, or it could be done in an hour. Depends on what you worked yourself up to. But it's all about staying in the present moment so that you end up choosing your response that
Mhm.
represents your values and what you want in your life versus just reacting
Mhm.
like habitually to something. Someone says something that pisses you off and
Yeah.
now, with mindfulness, someone could say something, you start to notice that you're getting a little irritated. You might take a deep breath, and then you might decide to either, yell back at them or turn away and walk. But at least at
Yeah.
this point is now you've given yourself a choice, and you continue doing that, you'll have more choices in life and you'll end up feeling more in control of your life instead of just always
Mhm.
reacting to something. All right.
Yeah.
Trying to hurry up.
No, you're good. You're good.
And two more. Right?
Okay.
So visualization. Right. So visualization is when you visualize, when you imagine, what it is that you want.
Mhm.
Right? If you want to be calmer with your children, if you want to get an A on the next exam, it does not matter. All right. But the thing is, you want to visualize is not just with your eyes. You want to visualize with all of your senses or as
Okay.
many of your senses as possible. So if it's that we're trying to pass the exam and be calm while we're passing the exam, you'll visualize yourself walking into the room, sitting down at the table, the pencil, the book, the computer, whatever is there, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like in the room because someone is chewing gum or you're
Wow.
chewing gum, whatever it is.
Feels like a
But you want
daydream.
Yes, 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 yes. Because what you're doing then is imprinting into your subconscious what you want, right? And when you tell your subconscious what you want, we do it all the time, every day, constantly. We just don't think we are,
Mhm.
right? Or we think, or we say we don't want something. That's still they don't. Your subconscious doesn't understand negatives. So I don't want to fail the test is very different than I'm going to pass this test.
Mhm.
It doesn't understand. All it knows is, oh, fail test. So it's going to put into your experiences everything that would dictate that would seem like failing a test. Versus if we're putting in everything that says, I'm going to pass this test. And then we can do that with visualization as well. Because our subconscious doesn't know the difference between what is real
Mhm.
and what is imagined. Right? It reacts the same way. There's been lots of studies done on it. Your body will react the same exact way, whether you're visualizing it or it's actually really happening to you. And this is also, they do it when they do when they have the goggles
The
on.
VR goggles.
Yeah, right. You feel like you're in the car, right? Or you feel like
Oh
you're going
yeah.
down the roller coaster, but you're not. You're sitting down in your chair, but your body reacted the same way.
Mhm.
Right? So it's the same thing that we're doing, just not using any VR, right? But with our thoughts and our imagination. And some people you can actually see pictures. Some people can just hear it all, like they're more they can hear the sounds that's going on around them. Some can smell, whatever is stronger for you is fine. But try to incorporate as many of the senses as possible when you're visualizing what you want and do it consistently, right? Because you're trying to, that's the repetition that you need for your subconscious to say, oh, this is really what she wants. This is what we need to do now. We no longer need to fear failing the test. We need to pass this test, and we're passing this test, and we studied, and we're comfortable. We're confident in that we're going to pass this test. I could smell it, I could see it. We walked out, and we just knew we passed that test. You know,
Yeah.
and you have all of this going on in your mind. And if you do that consistently with anything that you want, what your subconscious will end up doing is providing you with evidence of what
Mhm.
you told it that it wants. And it does that either way, whether it's something positive or negative, it'll provide you evidence. So if you recognize in your life that it seems like everything bad is happening, right, or everything negative is happening,
Mhm.
then you really need to go and study your thoughts to see what are you really saying to yourself. What are you really picturing out there for yourself? Are you picturing yourself passing the test, or are you picturing yourself not failing the test? you know,
Mhm.
what are you really feeling? So visualization is a great tool, and you can use it with anything that you ever desire. Okay? So the last one, and the one that I work with my clients the most because it's the most, you get the most, the quickest response with it is
Mhm.
hypnotherapy. Because all of this stuff that I'm telling you, even with the affirmations, the relaxation, the focusing, and the visualization, once you do that in trance, then that's able to stick with your subconscious
Mhm.
faster, right, and stay with you longer.
Okay.
And so hypnotherapy, is getting into a trance, which is like a sleep-like state, getting yourself relaxed, you know, working with your subconscious to say, what is it that's stopping me from what's causing this imposter syndrome?
Mhm.
What's causing me not to feel enough? And there's questions I'll ask, that will get us deeper and deeper and deeper into that. And then we get to that root cause. And your subconscious has all the answers. So we can even ask the subconscious now, how do I fix this? How do I get rid of this? Because what I want is this thing over here that I'm visualizing, right?
Yeah.
While I'm in trance, right? So how do I get to that? And your subconscious would start to tell you what it is you need to do to get to that, right? And then we just kind of program that into your mind so that this is now your new way of being. And what
Mhm.
often happens is once you come out of trance, you won't necessarily feel like a big, there's times you will, but you won't be like, oh my God, everything's just changed and everything's just, but it'll be a gradual thing, so like if there was, usually we don't think we're enough, so if there is some self-esteem or self-confidence issue, all of a sudden you might notice that you're walking past the mirror and you're like, hey cutie, where you've never said that to yourself before, you know I mean, and you're not dressed up to go out or anything like that, but just like a regular, oh hey beautiful, and you just keep, and so it becomes a part, because it's on the subconscious level, it just seems
Mhm.
natural. There's nothing to do per se. You don't have to necessarily tell yourself the affirmation, oh, you're beautiful, look in the mirror all over again.
Yeah.
You know it now. Now you know it. Right? And that's, to me, is the beauty of hypnotherapy, is that we can get to the point of knowing it a lot faster than with yoga and meditation, mindfulness. And those
Mhm.
all helped me get to a point where it's like, yeah, I felt it, I felt it, I felt it, I felt it. And I know I should know it. I know I should know it. I know I should know it. Right? But it wasn't until I experienced hypnotherapy, it was like, oh, now I
It's
know it.
deep in you now.
It's deep in me. Right. So even if I start saying something negative about myself, it's like, oh, please, Charmaine, I love you. But that's crazy, right? You need to, what you gonna do now? How can we get to where we need to? And that
Mhm.
to me is the growth, and that to me is the difference. So there's not a lot of time wasted anymore with trying to figure stuff out. Like, I know this already. Not only do
Mhm.
I know it, I know I can figure out if I do, not if, when I do backslide. It's like, okay, I'm backsliding. Okay, all right, so what we need to do now to get out of this.
Mhm.
So those are the 5 ways. So positive talk, positive self-talk, which would include affirmations, meditation,
Mhm.
mindfulness, visualization, and hypnotherapy.
Wow. Those are some great ways. And they all feel like they kind of build on each other. Like you can just start, maybe you don't start with the first one. Maybe you doing the mindfulness, you choose to do that. But then you go into meditation
Yep.
and you doing your affirmations. And it just feel like they build on each other. And they're very simple too. It's nothing that's
Yep.
out of your way to do. So you can do 1 minute or you can do an hour. It's very
Exactly. You can do it right before bed. You can do it right before you get out of bed. You can do it in the middle of the day. It doesn't matter.
yeah. Thank you for sharing though.
You're welcome.
So that was my last question. Do you have, yeah, you did great. Do you have any last words of advice or anything else you want to talk about on imposter syndrome or just your work in general?
um, I think the most important thing I would like people to recognize is that you have all the tools you need within you to live the wonderful life that you have been desiring to live and you deserve to live. No one has the power but you. And once you recognize that, it's twofold, and you can't blame anybody for anything, right? So there's no more excuses. But second, you know how to get whatever you want. You know that you have the power to get what you want. You know what's blocking you from getting what you want so that you can make the changes. But everything is in you. I believe that, our subconscious has all the answers, right? It remembers everything that we've ever experienced, every memory, right?
Mhm.
Everything that we saw somebody else experience, whether we're interpreting it correctly or not. But it's a wealth of information that we forget. But I also believe that our subconscious is connected to a higher consciousness, universal consciousness. So this is why we could have all the answers, because we're all connected on this universal conscious level.
Yeah.
So that's why whatever you want, whatever you desire, it's all in you. And because we haven't been taught that, it's hard to believe that sometimes. It's hard to maintain that belief sometimes. But with practice, it'll become more and more normal to you. And you'll be able to pass this on to your family, to your friends, and help them also live more on a recognize and master their subconscious so that they can live the life they want to live on a conscious level. I'm hoping that helps. I just want more people to know they got it. It's all in here. It's all in here. You got
all
it.
in you.
It's all in you. Yes, exactly. And I'm here to help you access it, but it is all in you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Charmaine Walker and Center of You LLC, for being my special guest today and just bringing your chair to the table, telling everybody, our audience, about imposter syndrome, how, all of our abilities are within us. It's within us. It makes me think of like a Disney saying, like, this is, makes me feel like, yes, it's going to break into song. It's within me.
Yes,
but
yes. Maybe I'll come up with a song.
Yes.
But thank you
that
for
could
having
be your sixth way to overcome imposter syndrome.
Lovely. I'll give you credit.
Thank you. But okay, for my audience, as usual, I'm going to be putting links to any of the background information that Charmaine has talked about in our YouTube and Instagram description for the video. And Bring a Folding Chair has a lot of more content planned for the future. We are going to be continuing doing some great videos, and I hope you continue to watch us. So don't forget to follow BAFC on Instagram at bring_a_folding_chair, and just at YouTube at Bring a Folding Chair. So I'm open to any suggestions for topics and guest speakers, and go to our suggestion box, which is the link in our bio. So thank you for watching. Peace.